Chapter 3, Lesson 5, Dividing Multi-Digit Numbers. So let's first start with some division vocabulary. We have divisor, dividend, and quotient. Quotient is what you call the answer to a division problem. Dividend is the whole amount. The divisor is the number that you're trying to figure out how many times will this number go into this one. So how many times will the divisor go into the dividend? And because we are computing with multi-digit numbers in Chapter 3, we are going to be dividing with multi-digit numbers. So we will start by doing the got it questions at the bottom of page 212 in our foldable. So we've got A and B on 212, and on page 213 is C, D, and a word problem for E. If you set up your foldable with the pictures that were sent, you have these division problems already written, except for E, because we need to read through the word problem and make sure we put the right numbers as the dividend divisor so we can find the correct quotient. So let's start with the process for division. We have divide. The M is for multiply. The S is for subtract. The B is for bring down. And the R is for repeat or remainder. So we will repeat till we run out of numbers, and then in that case we have something called a remainder. It is what is remained. How many other parts do we have that's not quite enough to make one whole? So got it to problem A. Remember, the questions in your foldable are coming from the got it questions on 212 and 213. So problem A, we have 768 divided by 8. When you have the division problems written like this, your first number is your dividend. So dividend divided by divisor. So using that notation, we would end up putting the 768 on the inside. So 768 and 8 on the outside. Okay. So we have to know or be familiar with our multiplication facts to know if we can divide. So 8 does not go into 7, but we want to know how many times does 8 go into 76 without going over. In this case, it's 9 times, and that's the dividing part. The M for multiply means we're going to multiply 9 times 8. 9 times 8 is 72. S for subtract. 76 minus 72 is 4. The next step is B, bring down. So we're going to bring down this 8. And then we're going to repeat. So how many times does 8 go into 48? 6 times. 6 times 8 is 48. We subtract again, and we get 0. Once you subtract and get to a 0, then your problem is complete. Or once you have divided the divisor into each digit of the dividend, you can stop and leave it as a remainder for lesson 5. When we get into lessons 7 and 8, we'll talk about what else we can do with that remainder. Okay. Question B. This one was already written in our division form, but we have this number 16. And 16 is not a number that you normally know the facts for. So what I suggest is off to the side, you can make yourself a list of the multiples of 16. So 16 times 1 equals 16. 16 times 2 equals 32. And you can also add another 16 to it, or you can keep doing that. So plus 16. So that's 16 times 3 equals 48. Okay. 32 plus 16 is 48. We can add another 16. So now we know that 16 times 4 is 14, carry a 1, is 64. Okay. 16 times 5, add 16 to 64, and you get 80. So that's a good place to start. So we want to know how many times can 16 go into 3? It does not, so we can put a 0 over the 3. How many times does 16 go into 31 without going over? That would be 1 time. 1 times 16 is 16, and we subtract. Okay. We borrow from the 3. So 11 minus 6 is 5. 2 minus 1 is 1. Now, what you can do once your numbers start getting larger is you have to go back and see, after you subtracted this number that's here, it has to be smaller than your divisor. If it's not, then you need a larger number in your quotient. So again, after you subtract, you need to check to see if this number, or the difference, is smaller than the divisor. Is 15 smaller than 16? Yes, it is. So that means we can move on to our next step of bringing a number down. And the number we're going to bring down here is the 8. Okay. So now we have 158. We need to see how many times does 16 go into 158. One of the things you can also think of, especially as your divisor numbers get bigger, is just look at the last digit. Do we know a number times 6 that ends in an 8? Yes, we do. That number happens to be 8. 6 times 8 is 48. So we can try 16 times 8 and see what we get. So 16 times 8. 6 times 8 is 48. Carry a 4. 8 times 1 is 8 plus 4 is 12. Okay, so that's 128. But if we subtract, we end up with 30. And that's still going to be too big. Okay, because remember, once we subtract, we cannot have a number here that's bigger than our divisor. So let's go up one more. 16 times 9. 16 times 9 is 50, or 6 times 9 is 54. Carry your 5. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 5 is 14. Okay, so let's try 9. Can't get any bigger than 9. So 9 times 6, we just said that 9 times 16 was 144. So that's our multiply. Now we are about to subtract. 8 minus 4 is 4. 5 minus 4 is 1. Okay. Is 14 smaller than 16? Yes, it is. So we now have our answer of 19 and a remainder of 14. So we notate remainder by using a capital R. And the 14 is the difference that's left. We only can write the number as a remainder if we have already used all the digits in the dividend. Okay. Let's look at question C. Now I don't expect anyone to know multiples of 56. So with 56, we can just add. Okay. So we have, of course, 1 is 56. Okay. Now we can add 56 again. So now we know that 2 of them is 12, carry a 1. 10 plus 1 is 11. So 2 is 112. 3, we're going to add 56 again. 2 and 6 is 8. 1 and 5 is 6. And 1. Okay. So let's go up to 6. Okay. 168 plus 56. 8 plus 6 is 14. Carry a 1. 6 plus 1 is 7. Plus 5 is 12. Carry a 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Add 56 again. we end up with 280. Okay. We're trying to get to 432, right? 56 does not go into 4. 56 cannot go into 43. So we're trying to put 56 into 432. So 280 plus 56, 6, 13, carry a 1, 3, 36. We're getting a little bit closer, but we know the biggest number we can get to is 9. So what we can do is off to the side, we can do 56 times 9. 56 times 9. 9 times 6 is 54. Carry a 5. 9 times 5 is 45 plus 5 is 50. So 504 is too big. Okay, let's try 8. So 56 times 8. 8 times 6 is 48. Carry a 4. 8 times 5 is 40. Plus 4 is 44. Still just a little bit too big. So it looks like 7 has to be the number. So we can go back and just add 56 to our 6. That's 12, 8, 9, 3. Okay. So 7 times 56 is 382. So we're going to put our 7 up here, 382. Okay. And subtract. 2 minus 2 is 0. We can't take 8 from 3, so we have to borrow from the 4. 13 minus 8 is 5. 3 minus 3 is 0. Okay. Is 50 less than 56? Yes, it is. So that means 7 was the right number to use, and our next step is to bring down. How many times does 56 go into 501 without going over? We have all the way up to 56 times 9 already listed, so we don't have to count and do this over and over throughout the problem. So we know that times 9 is going to be too big because that's 504. So let's use 8. So we have 8. We already know that 8 times 56 is 448. And then we subtract. We're going to have to borrow over from the 5 first. Okay, if you still need help with subtraction with regrouping, I will put a link to that in the description of this video, as well as another division review video link. So 11 minus 8 is 3. 9 minus 4 is 5. We don't have anything else we can bring down, so we're going to use that 53 as our remainder. So remainder 53. Okay, 78 and remainder of 53. Okay, let's look at problem D. So we have this 91. Okay. We can use our estimation skills and not have to write all of the 91s. So 91 is close to 90. It's also close to 100. So if we're thinking that this is about 90, okay, we know 91 cannot go into 8. We know 91 cannot go into 84. So we're looking at 846. And we're looking at something close to 90. So let's try a 9, because we know that 9 times 9 is 81. So off to the side, 91 times 9. 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 9 is 18. 81. Excuse me. 9 times 9 is 81. I was writing that correctly. So we have 819. I think that's as close as we can get without going over. So 9 times 91 is 819. Okay, that's our multiply. So we divided to figure out how many times we can get the 91 in. You're going to multiply. That's the 9 times 91. Our S is subtract. So let's go ahead and finish subtracting. You can't take 9 from 6. So we'll borrow from the 4. 16 minus 9 is 7. 3 minus 1 is 2. 21 is less, 27, excuse me, is less than 91, so we're correct. And we can bring down a 5. Okay. Now, how many times do we think 91 can go into 275? So this is about 90. This is about 270. Let's try 3. 91 times 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 9 is 27. 273 is less than 275. So we can put a 3 up there. We found that 3 times 91 is 273. That is our multiplying, subtract to get 2. And we would bring down, but we don't have anything else to bring down. So that means we're going to bring our remainder up. So 93, the remainder of 2. And E. So this is our word problem. So we're going to go back to the book on page 213, okay, and read this problem. To promote its opening weekend, a water park gave the local middle school 1,050 free tickets. The middle school has 350 students. Each student will receive the same number of tickets. How many tickets will each student receive? So we want to know how many times does the 350 go into 1,050? So we're going to end up putting the 1,050 as our dividend, because that's our whole amount, and we want to separate it or divide it equally into the 350 students at the school. Okay, so let's estimate. Well, first, 350 cannot go into 1. 350 cannot go into 10. We're taking these one digit at a time. 350 cannot go into 105. So now we're all the way over here. We want to think of a number that we can use that's going to get us as close to this as possible without going over. If this is 350 and this is 1050, 3 goes into 10 about 3 times. So let's try 350 times 3 to see if we can get a starting number to use for our division. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 5 is 15. Carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9. Plus 1 is 10. And we have exactly 1,050. So 3. 3 times 350, because we have to multiply, is 1,050. We will subtract. We have a 0, so there's nothing to bring down. So if we put this in words, that means that each student will receive 3 tickets. Okay. Now we're moving to writing in the textbook for our guided practice on page 214. So you should be writing these problems in your book, as I am as well. So there's no grid paper in your book, but we still have to be very careful about lining our numbers up. Okay, so we need to start. We can give ourselves a reminder to divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, repeat. Okay, I've heard before this can be like, does McDonald's sell burgers? So that's your divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, repeat a remainder. All right, taking it one number at a time. Can 8 go into 7? It cannot, so we're going to put a 0 to hold its place value. Okay. Now we're looking at 73. Can 8 go into 73? Yes, it can. It can go in there 9 times without going over. 9 times 8 is 72. That's our multiply. We need to subtract. That's 1. Our next step is to bring down, and that's the 6. And then we start over again. I have seen students rewrite it and keep bringing that 8 or whatever the divisor is down, so it looks like a new division problem with smaller numbers, and that works as well. How many times does 8 go into 16? It goes in there 2 times without going over. 8 times 2 is 16. Subtract, and there's nothing left to bring down. So our answer is 92. For question 2, 620 divided by 11. So, can 11 go into 6? No. Can 11 go into 62? Yes. And how many times without going over? We can't use a 6 because 11 times 6 is 66, and that's too big. But we can use a 5. 5 times 11 is 55. 62 minus 55. We can't take 5 away from 2, so we have to borrow from the 6. 12 minus 5 is 7. 5 minus 5 is 0. This 7 is less than the 11, so we're okay, and we can bring down. We can rewrite the 11. How many times does 11 go into 70 without going over? That would be 6 times. 6 times 11 is 66. Subtract, that's 4. And we don't have anything else to bring down. This 4 is less than the 11, so that part we know is correct. So our answer is 56 with a remainder of 4. Okay, 56 at the top, 4 left at the bottom. Question 3, 7,814 divided by 19. So we don't know our 19s, but we can use estimation to give us a good place to start. So can 19 go into 7? No. Can 19 go into 78? Yes. Let's think about how many times. 19 is about 20. So how many times can 20 go into 80? Because 78 is about 80. And that's 4 times. So let's try 4. 19 times 4, that's 36, carry a 3, 7. 76, that's less than 78, so it's not going to go over, but it's as close as we can get. So we're going to put this 4 directly above the 8. Excuse me, 4 times 19 is 76. We're going to subtract to get a 2. 2 is less than 19, so we're in good shape. Bring down 1. How many times can 19 go into 21? 1 time without going over. 1 times 19 is 19. Subtract. 21 minus 19 is 2. Bring down our 4 all the way down. How many times does 19 go into 24? 1 time without going over. So we can keep these as the 19. So we know we're trying to figure out how many times does 19 go into each one of these numbers, and our answer goes up at the top. 24 minus 19 is 5, and we no longer have anything else to bring down, so we're going to keep this as 411 with a remainder of 5. Okay. Now let's look at number 4. That's 3,511 divided by 37. So how many 37s will fit in 3,511? 37 cannot go into 3. 37 cannot go into 5, or 35, excuse me. So we're looking at 37 into 351. Okay, 37 is about 35. Maybe you can estimate it as 40. And 35 would work better though. 35 into 351 would be 10, but we can't use 10. The numbers at the top, we can use only 1 through 9 at a time, okay? Or 0 through 9 at a time. So let's try 9. 37 times 9. 7 times 9 is 63. Carry the 6. 27, or 9 times 3 is 27, plus 6 is 33. Okay. Since 9 is the biggest number we can use, we're going to go with that. 9 times 37 is 333. When we subtract, we have to borrow from the 5. 11 now. Minus 3 is 8. 4 minus 3 is 1. 18 is less than 37, so we are okay to continue. Now we're going to bring down this 1, and we're going to divide again by 37. Okay. Do we know a number that we can multiply by a 7 that ends in a 1? We can. It would be a 3, but 3 might be kind of small because 40 times 3 is only 120, so we need to look at something bigger than that. We may just end up having a remainder. So if this is 40 and this is 180, we're looking at 4 times, maybe 5. So let's try 4 first. So 37 times 4. 4 times 7 is 28, carry a 2. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Okay. Let's go ahead and add one more 37 on there just to be on the safe side. Okay. So this is 37 times 5. Okay. Actually, this bottom row is. This number that we come up with once we add is 37 times 5. Okay. So 8 plus 7 is 15, carry a 1. 7 plus 1 is 8, and 1. So 185 is too large. So we're going to stick with our original number of 4. And 4 times 37, we said, is 148. And we're going to subtract. Can't take 8 from 1, so we have to borrow from the 8 and make this an 11. 11 minus 8 is 3. 7 minus 4 is 3. 33 is less than 37, so that's okay. So our answer is 94 with a remainder of 33. Okay, so 37 goes into 3,511, 94, almost a full 95 times. Our last question. Question 5. Tadek bought 2 new jet skis for 15,480 AED. He will make 36 equal payments. So this word equal is the one that tells us to divide. How much will each payment be? We've seen this word each before. Each and per are used in multiplication or division. If it's used in the story part, like where you bought 3 shirts and you paid 15 AED per shirt, it means to multiply. If you see the word per or each in the question, that means to divide. Excuse me. So we're going to take this 15,000. Let's try to write it here. So the 15,480, and we're going to divide that by our 36 equal payments. Okay. 36 cannot go into 1. 36 cannot go into 15, but 36 can go into 154. Okay. So we want to see how many times without going over. We can't use 5 because that would be too big. Let's try 4. So 36 times 4. 6 times 4 is 24, carry a 2. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Okay, so let's use 4. 4 times 36 is 144. We subtract, we get 10. Bring down the 8. Okay, let's try 3, because we want to see, is there a number that we can multiply 6 by that ends in an 8? Yes, 3 times 6 is 18, so let's try it. 6 times 3 is 18, carry a 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10, so that is 108. So we're going to use this 3. 3 times 36 is 108. We subtract, we get to a 0, but we're not done yet. We still have this other 0 to bring down. How many times does 36 go into 0? 0 times. So each payment is going to be 430 AED. The difference on this problem is we got to a 0 once we subtracted before we got to all of our numbers of bringing them down. You still have to continue to bring down your numbers until you've used every single number in your dividend. Okay? Your quotient, the number at the top, is the answer. Just as a reminder, be sure to fill in your page 214 with this information from the video, and fill in flap 4 in your foldable of all the problems we just did together, as well as what these letters stand for inside of your foldable. Divide, multiply, subtract, bring down, repeat. Does McDonald's sell burgers? And this is Chapter 3, Lesson 5.